Live.
Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another video edition of the Justin Harvey Show. It's an honor and a privilege to have a Facebook friend of mine, Master Goldie Mack, on the show. Welcome.
Thank you, sir. It's an honor to be here.
Glad to have you. So tell us, how did you get into the martial arts?
Well, to make the long story short, I'm a Texas boy, born and bred. And I grew up on a working ranch in Temple, Texas. But at the age of 8 years old, my dad decided to move up to the Chicago area to work in the steel mills and bring in more money. Well, here I am, a black kid, and we're talking about the early 50s.
Yes.
Okay?
Rough times.
Rough time. Here's a black kid that's up on the south side of Chicago wearing cowboy boots, Wranglers, Western shirt, and a cowboy hat. Now, the kids back then, they were all.
Yeah.
They would look at me and they go, "What do you think you are, Black Roy Rogers? Well, sing us a song." You know, so I was getting into confrontations all the time and getting in fights all the time.
Yeah.
And a cousin of mine, a gentleman by the name of Sam Landrum, he heard about my situation, so he came over to the house one day, and he was also the Illinois State Champion of Shotokan Karate. And he started teaching me the martial arts, and from that point on, everything changed for me.
Wow, really?
Yeah.
So you just you really just stuck with it? Was there a point where you just kind of took a break from it?
No, I've been doing it now for 51 years and with nonstop.
Wow, have you competed in tournaments and stuff?
Yes, at one time I retired from active competition in 1980, but during that time I was ranked number 5 in the world. And when I was also in the military, and when I was stationed in Germany, I fought over in Europe, and I was the undefeated lightweight champion in Europe for 2 years.
Wow!
So, you know, the way I look at it, this is not a pastime for me. This is, this is not an extracurricular activity for me. This is a lifestyle. This is something that I breathe, eat, and sleep every day.
That's the same way I feel with my podcast. I may not be fighting and doing karate chops or arm bars or anything like that, but I live and breathe martial arts in this podcast, and it's taken off, and it's an honor to have you on live video here today.
It's my honor to be here. Thank you for asking me.
So how many years have you been coming to this event?
This is my first one here in Indiana. I'm the president of the USA Martial Arts Hall of Fame. I'm also the president of the Alliance.
I think I'm in the group, sir. The Alliance group. Yes.
Yeah. And so the year that for 36 years, we're the oldest Hall of Fame in the United States. And for 36 years, we had the Hall of Fame event in California.
Yeah.
But one of the things I talked to Dr. Jim Thomas, who is the CEO of the Alliance and of the Hall of Fame, is that we need to make a change. And the reason for that is because a lot of people, when they're being honored, they can't bring their wives because it gets too expensive to fly everybody, the family and the students, to California. So I came up with the idea that if we broke the country down into 7 different regions, and then we pick a state, and the states that butt up against that state, that's where we will hold the Hall of Fame. And so Texas happened to be a Region 5 rather. So all the states that butt up against it, they can come to that one. They come to the one here in Indiana that we hold. They come to the one in Atlanta for all the states that butt up against Georgia.
Yeah.
We hold it in New Jersey for all the eastern state that butts up against that. And we hold the one in California for all the states that butt up against California, Nevada, and so forth and so on. Which it makes it easier and less expensive, because now people can drive instead of worry about expensive flights.
Yeah, that's exactly what I did. Me and my buddy drove up here just for this, and which they don't normally do this, but they told me a couple of months in advance that I was being inducted, because it's hard for me as a disabled individual just to get up and go and get everything ready. It's a whole process.
Exactly.
And when I got the call, I was like, "You're kidding me!" And they're like, "No, it went through," and I'm like, holy cow.
Well, see, the way we when Master Trias first formulated the Hall of Fame, the whole precepts behind the Hall of Fame is that we've got people who have dedicated their mind, heart, and soul to the art in many capacities.
Yeah.
And they don't get the recognition that they deserve. Okay? And when we, you know, they may not be the Chuck Norrises, they may not be the Bill Wallaces, they may not be the Elvis Presleys or the other famous people that always get the recognition.
Yeah.
So we said to ourselves, how can we honor these people that fly under the radar, but they're doing it just as much for the martial art and for their community as these other individuals are. So that's the whole premise behind the Hall of Fame. So, like with you, we know that you've given your heart and soul to what you do, and it benefits the martial arts as a whole.
Yeah.
And then there are other instructors that all they do is they teach, and they're influencing these young minds.
Yeah.
And these young minds are going to be our new presidents, our new governors and senators, new teachers, and these people, if we don't change the way they look at themselves and the way, and honor them and let them know that you are worthy, you are worth something. Because everybody's on this planet to fulfill a destiny.
For a reason.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Nobody, you know, people always say that God doesn't create any junk. And that's true. So everybody has a purpose. The thing you have to do is you have to find out what that purpose is.
I think my purpose, sir, is to be a great broadcaster for the martial arts, but not only that, but be an inspiration for others that have my disability, that say I can't do that because I've got this disability, I've got that. You just have to find a way around to make the perfect ingredient.
And see, the thing about you is you give that inspiration to those others, because they look at you and they say, well, if he can do it, I can do it. And you know, and it's like pass it forward.
Yeah.
You know, and when you do that, that makes, because every human being on this planet has greatness in them. They just got to find out what it is and find out a way to manifest it so that the rest of the world sees that greatness.
Yeah, yeah. Now, if you could change one thing in the martial arts industry, what would it be? For example, mine would be like the politics that's in the martial arts. And what I mean by that is there are certain circles and martial artists that are, you know, they bicker with each other, they complain, and, you know, and in my mind, it's martial arts. We're supposed to come together as unity, as one, and here we are, you know, complaining about whose style is better, and it's just, it's like politics. It really
and
is.
you know, the thing about that worries me the most is anytime you have politics wrapped up in something, nothing gets done.
Yeah.
Our government already proved that.
Oh, yes.
Okay? You know, when they shut down things and so forth and so on because of bickering over nothing.
Yeah.
Now, what we look at is the fact that we are a family. And it doesn't matter what style you are or whatever. The fact of the matter is everybody has this punch. Everyone has that block, the upper block, the downward block. Everybody does a front kick, side kick, roundhouse kick, back kick. Nobody does anything different unless you happen to be from another planet and you got 4 legs and 4 arms.
Yeah.
Other than that, everybody's doing the same identical thing. The only thing that is different between one and the other is the philosophy that governs how you utilize it.
Yeah.
And I can learn something from another person as well as that they can learn from me. And we're here to share.
Yes.
And until we learn that we're here to share, the bickering is going to keep on. And this is why when we in our Hall of Fame, we bring in people in an alliance that are like-minded. We look at ourselves as a family. Now, in any family, is there bickering sometimes? Yes.
Oh yes, there's
yes.
disagreements, but
we still
there's
love
limits.
each other.
Yes.
You know, and the thing about it is, if you mess with somebody in my family, you mess with me.
You mess with one, you mess with us all.
Exactly, and that's the way we look at it. And so, therefore, in our organization, we don't have politics and the bickering and backstabbing, because we know that we may disagree on certain things, but that disagreement doesn't define us as a family. It just makes us stronger.
Exactly, like this wheelchair here does not define me.
Exactly.
There's more to me than this
than a wheelchair. Exactly.
It just helps me get around. That's it.
The wheelchair is just
tool.
an extension.
Yeah.
It's like a tool, like a hammer or a screwdriver.
Yes.
And that's where you got to look at everything in life.
Yeah.
You know, we've got, everybody has tools that they can use. Now the question is, do you want to take those tools to become a master carpenter? Or do you want to, ma'am, you're walking from the camera.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Or do you want to take those tools and just let them sit there and gather dust and rust?
Yes.
And complain about, here's a good example that I always give. It's like a person that sits in front of a wood-burning stove and says to the stove, give me heat.
Yeah.
Well, the stove is not going to give you heat until you put in the fuel and light the fuel, and then it will give you heat. So you've got to do something in order to get something.
Yes.
You just can't sit in front of that stove and say, give me heat, and then I'll put in the wood.
You've got to give to get.
Exactly. And that's the way life is, no matter whether you are working in a corporate setting, whether you are an educator, whether you're a martial arts instructor, whether you're a police officer, it doesn't matter what you do, you got to give in order to get. We were given the rules of a perfect life.
Yeah.
We were told, seek and ye shall find.
Yeah.
It did not say look, it said seek, and when you seek, you're hunting.
Yes.
It said ask and it shall be given unto you. It did not say complain, gripe, bitch. It said ask.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And it says knock and the door shall be open unto you. It did not say kick it, didn't say bang on it. It says knock. But here is the trick to that. When you ask until you get what you want. Children do it better than anybody I know. When my children growing up, they'll say, Dad, can I go to the park? No, you can't go to the park right now. 2 minutes later, Dad, can I go to the park? No, you can't go to the park. Didn't I just tell you that? 3 minutes later, Dad, can I go to the park? They'll keep asking until finally I just get, okay, you can go to the park.
Yeah.
They know how to ask until they get what they want.
And common courtesy goes a long way with people.
Exactly. Exactly. And see, if we don't understand how to approach and apply those laws that are universal to everybody,
yes,
you know, you're going to always fail. And talking about failure is okay. Everybody makes this big thing about don't fail, don't fail, don't fail. But what the truth is when you fail,
you succeed.
You succeed. All failure does is to show you another way to do something. Because when I was on a tournament circuit and I was competing, you know, somebody would say, you know, you lost that match. I said, no, I didn't. They said, yes, you did. He got the trophy. I said, no, I didn't lose because I learned something so that the next time I meet him, it's going to be a different story. Yeah. The only person that really loses is the person that never learns from the experience.
Exactly. It's like I've had several bad recordings, you know, starting out, but I'm like, okay, this works better than this technique.
Exactly.
And it's come together real smoothly.
See, once you learn from the shortfalls and the failure, what you got to learn how to do is pick yourself up and do it again and again and again. And eventually, you're going to hit a system where everything just moves smoothly. But most people give up.
Because that's the easiest thing to do.
Exactly. It's easier to give up than to pick yourself up and keep moving forward.
Because as humans, we have that lazy trait to say, okay, I'm just going to give up for today and just push it to the side.
There's a gentleman that gives motivational speeches called Les Brown. He says something that has stuck with me for a long time. He says, you know, life is always going to throw you these curves.
Yes.
And life is always going to knock you down. But if you're going to get knocked down, always strive to fall on your back. Because if you can look up, you can get up. And that is so true. Because I tell people, when I'm working with my kids, I say, okay, lay on your stomach. I say, now try to get up. And they have to put a whole lot of effort to get up. Then I said, okay, now roll over on your back. Now get up, and they get up real smoothly. It's easier to get up when you're on your back than it is when you're on your stomach.
Yes.
So when you fall, when life throws you that curveball and you get knocked down, always attempt to fall down on your back, because if you can look up, you can get up, because that's where your inspiration and your power derives from up there, not down here.
Exactly, and if you fail, try again, because
Yeah.
you might find a different way
Exactly.
to do the goal that you want to do. It's finding the way.
And Mother Nature teaches us that, but we don't pay attention. You get a river, and it's running, and then all of a sudden there's a boulder blocking the river. The water don't just say, oh God, the boulder blocking my way, so I can't go anywhere. What it does, the river will find a way around that boulder. It will either go around it, it will go over it, or it will go under it. But it's going to find a way. And we humans have got to learn to do the same thing. That when life throws that boulder in your way, you have to figure out a way to get around it, over it, or under it.
And put yourself out there. Don't be afraid to.
Exactly. I have a little saying on my wall at the school. It says, to fail is only human and is good for the soul. But to dwell on past failures clouds one's mind from the successes that you've already achieved.
And where is your school located, sir?
It's in Dallas.
Dallas, Texas.
Dallas, Texas. We have a school in Dallas, Texas. We have a school in Lake Dallas. And most of my classes are taught in outreach programs where we teach mainly out of American Legion halls around the area. And the main reason that I did this is that in 1994, I changed the direction of my school from being a profit-making entity to a nonprofit. We became a 501c3, a nonprofit
Oh, that's
organization.
so great.
Because I wanted to reach those kids that normally fall through the cracks.
Yes.
You know, and these kids are quote-unquote, and these adults are quote-unquote the forgotten ones.
Yes.
And I don't want to forget them, and I don't want them to feel like they're left out.
Yes, sir. Have you had any disabled
Yes,
students?
I got a student that is a double amputee. I've got a student legs. I got another student that's amputee with one arm. I've got a student that is hearing impaired. I've got a student that is sight impaired, and I do have one student that's in a wheelchair. And all I do with them is I take what they have.
And you adapt.
And I adapt it. I look at myself like a tailor. You know, when you go to a tailor to get fitted for a suit, he measures you and he gets all the dimensions right.
That right fit.
That right fits up for
that
you.
event, yeah.
Not off the rack, but for you. And that's what I do with all my students. When I have a student that happens to be confined to a wheelchair, I adapt the techniques for him or her to use the techniques. If I got a student that is sight impaired, then I use things that he has, because I use the clock principle.
Yeah.
Now, with a sightless person, they know that if I say, okay, your peas are at 6 o'clock, they know it's at the bottom of the plate. Your meat is at 12 o'clock, they know it's at the top of the plate. Your potatoes are at 9 o'clock or 3 o'clock. So when they're eating, they know where everything is. And then I do the same thing when I am instructing them in the art. I say, okay, your attack is coming from this time. And then they learn how to maneuver to that time, and so forth and so on. And it's the same thing when I'm dealing with a hearing impaired or whatever. Now, a person that's in a chair is unique. And the reason I say that is unique, that any attacker that comes at you has to bend down because you're at a lower level than he is.
And they may be able to use the chair as a weapon.
As a weapon. And because of that, when you do that, that brings that person's center of gravity off balance so that you can manipulate them.
Yes. That's amazing, and I wanted to get your thoughts on MMA and martial arts, because in my aspect, I'm more old tradition. You know, people say that MMA is, martial arts, but to me it's not, because to me it's mixed martial arts. And what really gets me mad about MMA, like UFC, these guys just get in the ring to beat up people, and that's not what true martial arts is about.
I agree with you. In the old days, I used to train students. I grew up in a time where we had full contact.
Yeah.
But it was traditional techniques being used. Okay. When MMA came along, what I discovered was a lot of the people that went into the MMA were people who failed as Golden Glove boxers. They learned a few wrestling techniques and they get in the ring. Or they were failed wrestlers. They learn a few boxing techniques and they get in the ring. And to me, what sense does it make to put people in an octagon ring? Because the first thought that comes to my head is a cockfight or a pit bull fight. We're not that kind of animal. And the thing about it, they say that MMA is the ultimate fighting art. But I'm saying, how can that be an ultimate fighting art when you still have rules?
Yeah, exactly.
You know? And the thing about, since when does using the English language become a crime?
Yeah.
I mean, you got these MMA fighters sounding like WWF, you know? They cannot put two syllables together.
Yeah.
And what in the crap does all these tattoos on the body mean? They have nothing to do with the martial arts unless you happen to be a Yakuza or a Tong. And those are all crooks.
And what's sad is these people that, you know, beat up people like that and have a bad attitude, kids are looking up to these people.
Exactly.
And that's just heartbreaking for me.
And every child, oh, I want to be, and I tell people, I say, look, you are being watched even when you don't know you're being watched.
Yes.
Okay? A kid looks at you and he goes, I want to be just like that person. For whatever reason, they want to be just like that person. And you turn out to be a real idiot. And then you have the audacity, and I see this in football players, I see this in some of the baseball players, some of the basketball players, and definitely in the MMA.
Yes.
And they use this excuse, well, I don't want to be a role model, I'm here to fight. It doesn't matter what you want. The fact of the matter, you are. There's always some little kid watching what you do.
Yes.
And they think because you're in front of the camera, because you're quote unquote semi-famous or famous, they're looking at the fame and that's what they want to be.
Yeah.
And what are children? Children are sponges, okay? And children will emulate whatever environment that surrounds them.
Yes.
And if you look at a child and you go, that's a bad child, there's no such thing as a bad child. There's bad parenting, yes. There's bad role models, yes. But bad children, never. Because children are the reflection of the environment that's around them. You take that child out of that environment and you put them in a good environment, that child changes to fit. Because, again, we're creatures of habit.
Yeah.
And what I tell my students all the time, I say, look, if I take a very positive person and surround him with a bunch of negative persons, one or two things are going to happen. One, he's going to turn negative in order to fit in. Or he's going to be in such pain from all that negative, he's got to get away from it.
Yeah.
And the reverse is true. You take a negative person and put him around a bunch of positive people, he either will change to fit in and become positive, or he's going to be in so much pain from all that positive, he's got to get away from it in order to feel comfortable. And that's the same thing with everything in life. And until these MMA guys and everybody else understands that, you're influencing people. And it doesn't matter whether you want to or not. You're stuck with it.
So what do you think needs to be done for a change to happen to bring back a positive message for the martial arts? Because with me, I was 3 years old watching movies like Bloodsport and Kickboxer and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and it had a positive message.
And see, and that's the thing. That's the crux of it. You have to have a positive message. Now there are instructors out there that are doing it the right way, but you don't hear about it. You know, and that's why the USA Martial Arts Hall of Fame was founded. It was founded to recognize those that have done it the right way, still do it the right way, and influencing children and other adults in the right format. Now, can we change everybody? No.
No.
Okay, but here is the crux. is that if I can just save one, I've done my job. Because you look at it, I ask this question sometimes. I say, you ever heard of compounded interest, right? Mm-hmm. You know what that is. You take a penny, you double it. You take that and you double it. You take that and you double it. And in a very short period of time, you're a millionaire. Okay? Well, the same thing holds true with what we do. If I save one child, if I influence one child in the right way, then that child is going to go and influence either his children or anybody that comes within his sphere of influence. Do you know how long it would take to change the world? How long did it take to create the world?
Not very long.
7 days, right?
7 days.
Do you know that if I change the way you think, and then you go and change 2 people, and then those 2 people go and change 2 people, and those 2 people go and change 2 people each, and those people go and change 2 people each, do you know we can change this whole planet in 7 days?
Absolutely.
That's compounded interest.
Absolutely, and I got a good example for you too. A friend of mine on Twitter actually told me, he said, I love your podcast. You inspired me to start my own. And I'm like, see? That's great. And that's the way. Get the word out, the positive. Yes. Because there's so much negative out there. And what people don't understand is that for every negative input that goes into your brain, it takes 10 positive to override it. Yeah.
So one of the things that I've learned to do for myself personally is this. Every night before I go to bed, I say the Serenity Prayer. God give me the strength to change the things that I can, accept the things I'm unable to change, and the wisdom to know the difference between the two. And that way, when I go to bed, I have a positive input.
A positive outlook, yes.
And then when I wake up in the morning, I repeat the same Serenity Prayer to start my day off with a positive output. And what most people do is that they don't understand there are things that I can change. And those things that I can change, I change them. There are things that I don't have the ability to change for whatever reason, lack of knowledge, or lack of physical ability, or whatever have you. I got to accept that fact. But I have to have the wisdom to know what I can change and what I don't have the ability to.
Because some things you don't have control over, and
exactly.
You have to adjust and cope with it.
Exactly.
You don't have to like it, but you learn to live with it.
Exactly. And the thing about it is, once you understand that concept, life gets easier for you. It gets easier in all kinds of aspects. But the problem is, that's not taught anymore.
Yeah.
And that has got to be taught. It's not taught in our schools. It's not taught at home. You know, and there are schools out there, martial arts schools out there that are teaching it, and then there are martial arts schools out there that don't teach it.
And
but it's got to be taught.
Yeah, and there's schools that just give you a black belt for just showing up or paying.
I agree with you 100%. You know, and that's why in my schools, we don't have testing fees. When you see one of my students wearing a belt, they've earned that belt. They don't get it unless they earn it. In fact, I make earning that belt something that's very, very specific. Number one, for certain belt levels, they have to maintain a certain grade point average in school. If they fall below that, they cannot test.
Yeah.
Secondly, every 3 weeks, they have to take a questionnaire to school, home, and then they got to do a self-evaluation. That helps me find out where their mindset is at the time. And that also tells me what they're doing in school, because their teachers are writing these reports on them every 3 weeks.
Yes, yes.
And with my students, they know these are rules that are not to be broken, changed, or watered down. So when my kids test for their belts, they know they've earned their belt.
Okay, and my final question for you, and then I'll wrap things up. And I do appreciate your time, but like with your disabled students, for instance, like I know you do like black belt testing, but do you do, like for them, do you do things differently because they may not be able to do the original black belt test? Do you know what I'm saying? Do you adapt and figure out what they need?
black belt testing to me is not about what you can do physically.
Yes.
Black belt testing to me is what you can do here, mentally.
Up here, yes.
Okay? Because, let's face it, I know a lot of black belts that act like children. And I know a lot of children that act like black belts. Okay? So, and when you look at it in that respect, the question is, can you pass on the knowledge to another person that I have transferred to you? And if you can, you're a black belt. Because the way I look at things, and I tell my students, it is my 90-0 or my 100-0 concept. Now let me explain that real quickly. If I give you 100% of my knowledge, and because of your laziness or whatever have you, you only like 90% of it.
Yeah.
You don't practice the other 10%. For whatever reason. Then when you teach someone, how much can you give them?
Not the whole thing, just
You
what
only,
you've learned.
exactly. And
then
then if they do the
yeah.
same thing, it's reduced to 80%. And then when they teach, it's reduced to 70, 60, 50, 40. And pretty soon, you're down to 0. And that's why there are some schools, a kid can make a black belt in a year. Because they don't have all the knowledge that would take up the time. And it never, it drives me crazy when I see a 9-year-old wearing a black belt. That, to me, that's just like me saying to a 9-year-old, here, I'm going to give you this 9mm handgun. You got the maturity to use it the right way.
Yes.
They do not.
In some schools, it's all about the money, and that's bad.
Exactly.
It's like, give me, $500 and here's your black belt.
And that's what I'm saying. And it's gotten to a point now where it's about money and not about working with bringing this kid's self-esteem up,
Yes.
his self-awareness up or her self-awareness up, and the way they look at themselves. Okay? And everything is about money. And
Yes.
my thing is, what can a dead notable do for you? Because that's what's on the doggone money. A picture of a person that's dead, that's deceased.
Yeah, it doesn't do anything.
And one last thing, when we talk about money, money is a tool, just like a hammer or a screwdriver.
Yes.
But do you know, if I was to convince you that a white button off your shirt had a monetary value, and then you and I got together and convinced everybody else, people will be killing each other over white buttons.
Oh, absolutely. I mean,
so
lottery tickets even.
Exactly. So where do we get? Why do we put so much emphasis on the almighty dollar? And even Scripture tells you that it is the love of money that is the root of all evil, not money. When you put money above your family, you put money above your integrity, you put money above everything else,
Yes.
then you've got a problem. But money is just a tool.
Exactly, because like with my radio show, sir, I would never want to be corporate. I would want to do things the right way and run things my way. I wouldn't care if I didn't make a dime off of my show, because you can be very successful and well known and not make a dime.
And the question becomes, what is success? To me, a person is successful when they do what they love and enjoy doing it.
Yes.
You are a success. A housewife who keeps her house clean, takes care of her children, she is a success. A ditch digger that takes pride in digging that ditch is a success.
That's a
that
success.
garbage man that takes pride in picking up the trash and getting it out there and keeping the streets clean is a success. We equate success with a dollar value. I know I got a lot of friends that are wealthy, and they are miserable. And the reason they're miserable, because they don't know if the people who are attempting to be friends with them are being friends because of their money or their fame or because of themselves. And that's a terrible way to live.
Absolutely. I would never want to live that way. And
No.
and I wanted to close with this. Like when I first heard got the call about my induction, the first thing that popped in my mind was I would like to get into public speaking after my induction, because maybe I could inspire someone else to achieve their dreams, even if it's not martial arts.
Do it. If that thought popped into your head, that means you have the capability of doing it. And the only person that can stop you from doing it is
me. And I'm not going to let it stop me, sir. So I'll let you do some closing statements for the show. We'll end this video, sir. And I appreciate your time, sir.
I thank you very much for inviting me. It's been an honor and a pleasure to be on your show. And I wish you all the success and congratulations on your induction into the Hall of Fame.
But thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. And if there's any time that you want to do an update on, you know, an audio podcast on the show, you're more than welcome to come back on the show if you would like.
I'll be glad to do so, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.